Hello. Hello, everybody. Can you please take your seats? Can I have your attention, please? Hi, my name is Mary Osborne. I am the Executive Director of the Writers' Trust of Canada. I am very delighted to be here in Halifax. It's my first time visiting, and I have had a great time after a rough start getting here. And so we are really happy to be here with Writers Union, able to celebrate the Dayne Ogilvie Prize for Emerging LGBTQ Writers. It is my pleasure to introduce author Billeh Nickerson, who is the MC for today's presentation of the prize. Billeh was born right here in Halifax, but I discovered he left here before he was a year old, abandoned Halifax for Vancouver, but he is happy to be back in what you would consider his old stomping grounds because he has been returning on a regular basis to visit family. He now lives in British Columbia, where he is permanent faculty at Kwantlen Polytechnic University. Billeh has written 5 books, including Artificial Cherry, which was nominated for the City of Vancouver Book Award. He is also co-editor of The Seminal, the anthology of Canada's gay male poets. Billeh is not only a force on the page, he is also a force on the ice. He was a silver medalist at the Canadian Gay Curling Championships. Now, I just wonder why no one clapped for anything literary. So to finish on a more literary note, Billeh has been in the Writers' Trust orbit as a writer in residence at Burton House, which is our writer's residency in Dawson City in the Yukon. And he was also a juror for this prize in 2016. Please join me in welcoming our host, Billeh Nickerson.
Hello, sexy people. How's everyone doing? Yay. I am so happy to be here with the presentation of the 2019 Dayne Ogilvie Prize for LGBTQ Emerging Writers. A stand-up comedian friend of mine once said, Billeh, why don't you folks just move the B and the L and the T to the front? Because everyone loves sandwiches. And I thought, it made me think. It made me think. So it's a great pleasure to be here today. So I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which the Mi'kmaq, Maliseet, and the Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. That's a long time ago. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Maliseet title and established the rules for which was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Okay. Just also to remind folks that this is being live streamed, please do not swear. If folks in the, well, just, you know. Just be kind to one another. Also on that note, I'd like everyone to just kindly remind everyone to turn off all your electronic devices, or at least put them on to silent. And if you do want to use your phone, please share your thoughts about today's event on social media using hashtag Dayne Ogilvie or hashtag Onwards 2019, okay? And God help you if your phone goes off, because I know some of you are really proud that you got the Superman theme song or Star Wars or like I know someone has Salt and Pepper Push It, and I don't need to hear that right now, and neither do we. Okay, so we are here to celebrate the 3 finalists of the 2019 Dayne Ogilvie Prize. I'm going to name the authors. I've asked you to please save your applause until the end so they can just be one big, robust round of applause. And I'd ask the nominees to stand when your name is spoken. So the nominees tonight are Joelle Barron, and Lindsay Nixon, and Casey Plett. Big round of applause. Yay. So apart from your readings, nominees, I won't get you to do any other little things, okay? So you can relax. There was going to be a tap dancing contest, but that got nixed. As well, there may be some sports events going on, so you may hear weird screaming and things, and if that's, we're just going to go with it, okay? So the finalists this evening were selected by a jury composed of authors and past Dayne Ogilvie Prize winners Amber Dawn and Kai Cheng Tom. On behalf of the Writers' Trust, I thank them for their service on this jury. So a round of applause for them, please. And I just happen to live in the same neighborhood in East Vancouver, as Amber Dawn, and I bumped into her on her way to the gym the other day, and she, the announcement just came out, and she was sharing with me just how inspiring the books were in the nominees, and she sends her love, okay? And I'm sure Kai Cheng does too, but Kai doesn't live in East Van, so screw him. Okay. The Dean, that is not a swear word. You can say it on CBC. The Dayne Ogilvie Prize is given to writers in the LGBTQ community to recognize outstanding literary work and to encourage their future contributions to Canadian letters. It was established by Robin Pacific to in honor of her late friend Dayne Ogilvie, who was a respected editor, writer, literary manager, and a passionate lover of all arts. So not enough writers get celebrated during their lifetimes. This is especially true of writers at the beginning stages of their careers, and especially true of writers from the LGBTQ community. I've had the great pleasure in the past of serving on the jury for this award and have seen how meaningful it is, not just to the author nominees, but also to the many folks who have grown accustomed to their stories residing only at the peripheries and the margins. I know that people joke that authors in Canada can die from exposure, but exposure is visibility, and visibility from a national institution is political. At a time when far too many would douse and deny our existence, this prize illuminates and celebrates. Thank you to Robin Pacific and the Writers' Trust for making it happen. So we have the privilege of hearing from each of the finalists reading from us for us today. So going alphabetically, and our first reader was like, yes, because their name begins with B. So I'll begin by introducing Joelle Barron. Joelle is a Kenora-based poet whose first collection, Ritual Lights, was published in 2018. The jurors characterized Barron's writing as nimble, compassionate, and affecting. They said that in this current age of trauma-informed literature, Barron not only broadens the vital conversation, they remind us that challenging content can be crafted into lasting lyrical testaments. Please welcome Joelle Barron.
Thank you so much. I actually used to tap dance competitively, so I would have been fine. Thank you so much to the Writers' Trust for bringing me here. This has been a really incredible experience already. It's a huge honor to be included on this list with Lindsay and Casey, so thank you so much. I was privileged to launch my book last year in Vancouver as part of the Verses Festival of Words, alongside three really good friends of mine, Ellie Sawatsky, Alessandra Naccarato, and Jay Simpson. And we discovered before we started reading that Alessandra, Jay, and I had all written and were planning to perform poems that had to do with the myth of Persephone. So we decided that must be sort of a depressed femme thing to do. And we just leaned into it. So this poem is called Little Girl, Chaos Bringer. and it starts with an epigraph from Louise Gluck, which says, "You must ask yourself, where is it snowing?" In Louise's poem, the mother chops her daughter into chuck. In mythology, as in popular culture, mothers are often worse than rapists. Sometimes I feel like a bad mother because I don't pretend to possess you. Honestly, you frighten me. Demeter named her daughter Kore, little girl. Mothers get pissed when their children get tattoos or change their names for non-marriage reasons. I guess I'd be pissed if you voted conservative. I gave you a little girl name, but already you're more of a Persephone, chaos bringer. Kind of reckless I've longed to be since high school English class. Your mom's interpretation? Persephone was plucked by her husband, made the best of her winters in hell like an Arizona snowbird, whipped that place into shape. I'm afraid of you because you made me see how weak I am. Little line squall in my living room, rising up each morning, spring flowers spilling from under your feet. So my daughter and my mom should hopefully be watching this via live stream right now from Kenora, if my mom figured out how to work it. So I wanted to read one poem for my daughter and one poem for my mom. So this poem is called "I Tell My Mother What Happened." In the greenhouse, there are hammers everywhere. "Pass it to me," she says, tacking something for a plant to grow on. I pluck it from the workbench, feel all we could do together. My mother was so gentle when I told her. "Hold this," she is saying. I press a hand to the lattice, and she pounds the nail in. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joelle. You can find their book at fine bookstores all across the country. All right. Our next nominee and reader is Lindsay Nixon. They are a curator, editor, writer, and PhD student who lives in Montreal. Their memoir and first published book, Nitasanak, was published in 2018. The jurors wrote that Nixon's writing is a triumph of decolonial and non-normative storytelling, heralding them from their new vital voice for queercore, which I love, I can't believe I stumbled on that, queercore culture, ancestral and chosen family inheritances, sex and kink positivity, which I'm also all about, and Cree and Prairie wisdom. Please welcome Lindsay Nixon.
Tansi Nitsimitik, thank you for having me here today. Hello, honored friends. I'm so honored to be here. I guess before I read, I just really want to thank Amber Dawn and Kai Chang, such a force of feminine energy. These women matriarchs in our community who chose me and put me on this, nominated me alongside these two people. I'm just so honored. Thank you. So the chapter that I'm going to read is actually the opening chapter of my book, and it's called Love Story Medicine. And it's a particular vignette called Indian Love. If we were to trust popular and scholarly representations of Native people, we would have to conclude that they, unlike any other peoples in the world, are without love, which is an Audra Simpson quote, and or do you believe in life after Indian love, which is a Cher quote. Some Cher fans? Is there really such a thing as Indian love, as trauma baby love, as love for the unloved? Or is Indian love just a tall tale I heard Kenny G and Dolly Parton sing about on the radio in my grandpa's truck, one dry, hot prairie summer afternoon, sipping the warm pop and eating the old Dutch ripple chips that he let me get at an isolated gas station a few towns over while he worked in his garage? Islands in the stream, that is what we are. It's probably just that prairie Indian thing, though. If love seems unattainable for us prairie Indians, it's only because we've lost our sacred connection to the land and to all creation. We've lost our ability to speak and be spoken to by animals. We've lost the intimacy of being. If love seems impossible for me and my Plains Indian kin, It's only because they came into our homes in the middle of the night and stole our babies from their beds. They shackled them in tiny handcuffs and sent them miles and miles away, where they were put into prisons, alone, frightened, hungry, and cold. Some of them never made it home. Some of them died trying. The ones who did come back no longer knew tenderness, recoiling at its touch, and passed the static onto the war-torn nerves of my generation. If love seems hard on the open prairie, for me and my Nietzsches, it's probably because the world hardened us. Out there in the hustle, we learned that scarcity and depressive affect were the norm, and that tenderness and care were not. Someone tricked us, told us that we are competition and not siblings, that individual voices weaken other individual voices, instead of that our collective voices hold a power that can destabilize nations of white men. If love seems hard for us Plains Indians, it's because they stole the words out of our mouths, the ones that describe our relationships to one another through action-based intentions, rather than name and claim with nouns. Colonial capitalism infected our sacred words. If love seems hard, it's because love is heartbreaking for people like us Prairie Indians. Cynicism and paranoia have made their way into our hearts, begun to fester and eat away at the spirit. Cynicism that manifests as knowledge that the world is a stage wherein we are only allowed to play out our suffering, because what is settler colonialism, if not one giant trigger for Black, Indigenous, and displaced peoples, and the ultimate gaslight too? Affect that is always followed by paranoia, that survivance and resilience are just another way to keep us down, true, and ergo we will always be down and out of love. But I know that to love still, without pretension, without fear of overt romanticism, and despite that it is hard, well, that's our power, ain't it? At our most essential, we still have our love and our do it for the city, Prairie Indian vibe nation. To love as delicately as I burn sage, to love is ceremony, to love hard, well, that's where my dominion lies. Thanks.
Thank you, Lindsay, reading from their book, Nitasanak. Okay, our final nominee, but before I do the final nominee, I just want to thank John Deegan for helping me in a very intimate way tie the bow tie, because I left my tie in Vancouver, and I think my cats have got it, and that's another story. But this is a wonderfully tied and borrowed. Yeah, we were in the washroom in front of the mirror, and I've never stood so still in my entire life. But that's another story. Okay. So our final nominee is Casey Plett. Casey Plett is an author currently living in Windsor, Ontario. She is the author of the short story collection, A Safe Girl to Love, and the novel, Little Fish, which recently won the Amazon Book First Novel Award. Yes. That almost got as much acknowledgement as my curling silver medal. I think yours got more. The jurors said that Casey Plett's work...
Curling's better than Amazon.
Okay, you said it. The jurors said that Casey Plett's work goes straight to the bone of what it means to be human in a world that is at once cruel and kind. Her prose shimmers with sharp insight, heartbreaking humor, and above all, total mastery of the craft of writing. Please welcome Casey Plett.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's wonderful to be back at the ceremony. Joelle, Lindsay, it's such an honor to be on this list with you. I'll just read this really quickly. I'm pretty sure that I can do this without the swear words in, so, you know, hopefully we'll, I think this is like a pretty tame passage I picked out of the book, so hopefully that's, it'll be all right. This takes place when the protagonist, Wendy, has just met this girl, Aileen, and they are, all I'll really say is that they are both grieving in this passage. But they have met and they've had a bit of a connection. Anyway. And these two people, Wendy and Aileen, by the way, are both transsexual women. When they kissed, it was magic. The others were gone, and they'd done shots at last call, and now were alone outside cousins, wind blowing and snow melting on their faces, their lips. And Wendy said, well, thank goodness that's mutual. A finger on Aileen's lips, her swirling breath, a cloud moving up and over the taller girl's face, and Aileen said, you tit. Like, you don't have pretty girls all over you all the time. And in her head, Wendy's first thought was like, well, no, actually, I'm kind of straight, but she caught herself midway and just said no. And Aileen said, oh, no? And she kissed Wendy deeply, her shaggy hair gradually speckling with white. And Wendy said, I don't mean to be bold. I don't know if you like walking, but I don't live too far. Whispering, though they were truly alone on Sherbrooke in the hushing, icy swirl of dark, and Aileen said, you think you're bold. I was going to say, I've got a room around the corner I'm betting you look good naked in. And Wendy hooted, and she laughed, her guttural herd down the block laugh with a pickled brain hundreds of feet above herself, spiraling off to the moon. They walked around Wolseley and up Furby, and Wendy briefly flashed the guy on the stoop, and she was like, no, stop, you are with this girl, you are not with him, you are with this girl. Mulched gray and black snow everywhere, the air now still, their boots squeaking and crunching. Wendy pinned Aileen against the side of a corner store, grinning and fondling her face and rubbing hard on her tits through her layers. Aileen gasped and said, you are a treat, Miss Aileen, I can already tell you're a treat. They made out in front of the stucco wall. There was nothing around them, it was all quiet. The girl's flesh felt soft and safe and beautiful. In this way Wendy had forgotten was even possible, an old feeling. Aileen led Wendy onward and up Spence, and when she turned into a gate, she said, Action House? You're saying Action House? And Aileen said, yeah, like, I'm friends with Randy. Wendy nearly fell over to the snow, and she was like, punks. Action House? I've been going to parties here since I was... Anyway, Aileen led her through the front door, hung their coats on the overflowing rack, through the kitchen with the two fridges and impossibly tall black cabinets, through the back of the decaying stairs, down to the basement, past the laundry, into what Wendy recognized as some boy's bedroom who'd lived here forever, who Aileen explained in patches was away somewhere doing something. A slippery memory rose and fell. A slippery memory rose and fell of her hanging out in this room with people at a party years ago, and now this girl Aileen was here. There were posters. Wendy couldn't focus on them. She was really drunk. There was a tiny bottle of Jameson on the bedside table, and Aileen kissed Wendy on her breasts, the breasts that were both fuller and rounder from the new Medroxy, also getting kind of baggy from the years. Wait. When did Wendy's top come off? But Aileen, she had the smaller, perky, fresh on HRT tits she remembered both in her own past self and others. Wait, when did both of their tops come off? Wendy pressed the other girl down onto the bed, straddled her, and held her firm. It didn't take long for Wendy to figure out what she liked. Drunk as she was, she intuitively made sense of Aileen's shuddering skin and a light hiss of air when Wendy's ponytail was coming loose, her huge mane draping and expanding down her back. Wendy smiled inside herself. It really had been years. Wendy screwed her hands into Aileen's chest and she bucked like fire, and you're going to have to read the book to find out what happens afterwards.
Thank you, Casey.
No problem, no swearing.
No swearing. Well, it wouldn't have mattered if the reader swore. I just didn't want random swears from the audience. That's all. All right. So all three of the finalists are remarkable. They deserve recognition and readers. So please purchase their books, read their books, pass their books along to folks, and then buy more copies. All these things. So let's have another round of applause for them. So just so we didn't get the envelopes confused like the Oscars, because that would have been my nightmare. Okay, here we go. So the recipient of the 2019 Dayne Ogilvie Award, I'm trying not to break the seal. There we go. Oh, I don't know which side is on. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. This year's recipient is Lindsay Nixon. Congratulations. Have a speech, okay?
I don't. Yo, oh my God. Oh my God. I seriously don't have a speech ready. Oh my God. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Writers' Trust for supporting queer and trans writing, for supporting small press publishing, for supporting queer Indigenous identities. This is such a moment. I feel so proud to be a part of a movement with my colleagues like Billy Ray Belcourt, Ariel Twist, Gwen Benaway, Jay Simpson, Emily Riddle, Brandy Bird. This is for all you and for all the queer and trans youth in the prairies who are still trying to survive and fight it. Like, I see you and I love you, and you can do it, and you're so special and important to our communities, and I just want you to fight, baby. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Lindsay, can you... And you get a little trophy.
Oh my God. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Oh, do you want both? Okay. You want me to stay there? Okay. Okay. Oh, it's an action shot. So congratulations to Lindsay and all of our nominees this year. And I want to thank everyone here for joining us. I hope you'll stay and enjoy a snack. And I think we got some drinks that are still going on for a little bit, not too long. So take advantage of it, folks, because that's one thing that writers are good at, is taking advantage of free drinks. To the folks watching us across the World Wide Web in Canada and everywhere, stay sexy, and we'll see you soon.